Welcome to Food Shrinks.
I'm Molly Carmel.
I'm Clarissa Kennedy.
And I'm Molly Painschab.
We are your food shrinks, three eating disorder, food addiction therapists who are real life friends, walking the walk, talking the talk, sharing our honest and hopefully funny, but our unfiltered conversations we usually have when nobody is listening. But now we're recording it. So welcome to our show, friends.
Hi.
Clarissa's got our topic today.
Yeah, well, I'd hope we could explore why community can be activating for people. So definitely it can be triggering sometimes. I know myself, I can be in our food addiction professional network and they can activate me like no other or trigger me. I get emails from them very regularly. And that it can be really hard to separate what I believe from what they believe. And like, yet we're still trying to do the same purpose and like elevate, recovery and food addiction as a recognized disorder. And so, yeah, I also have heard it among our sweet sobriety community members lately. I'm feeling activated. I'm comparing my recovery to somebody else. I'm feeling shame because somebody has it figured out and I don't. And so a lot of the time, the trauma response is flight. I'm out. See you later. And so I hope today we could talk a little bit more about if I'm somebody who's in one of these communities and I'm noticing I'm having this response or I'm feeling like I can't attend these meetings because I too empathetic is also something I hear. I feel so much when people are in pain. I feel their pain or I find myself comparing to others. Another thing I often hear is, this doesn't even feel like recovery because everyone's talking about reoccurrences and return to uses all the time. And, I want to focus on wins or I want to focus on strategies. So yeah, I wanted to get both of your opinions on this today.
Human's gonna human, huh? I remember I was thinking of these two stories while you were talking about my own experience of life. And when I was training as a shaman, like sort of my second round of training, my first round was in Hawaii, my second round was in New York. And I would just say to my teacher, like, but I can go in the grocery store and I feel everybody's pain and I don't know what to do about it. And I thought this man was just going to give me this like spiritual advice, he was just going to tell me like how amazing I was because I could like feel other people's pain. And he's like, you gotta shut down your third eye. That's what they'd say in my world. Like, you gotta shut down your third eye, Molly, because you gotta be able to go to the grocery store, like you gotta, and he really, I mean, I had to do like months on this, which I still struggle with. He's like, you gotta learn how to hold on to your energy different. Like, and in a way, like there is some codependency to it. Like nobody's asked me to go in there and solve their problem. Like it's actually illegal, like shamanically, as though there's a shaman police, but you know what I mean. Um, but like it's sort of like, well, no one's asked me to go in and feel their pain with them. So there's this real piece for me that I'm always focused on. And really, it's hard for me, like keeping the focus on myself, like really keeping the focus on myself, unless I'm asked. And even when I'm asked, I have to be kind of careful and particular about how and where I tread because if I don't have my energy, I don't have anything. That was the first one. I was thinking about this other one, which is just a terrible story, which is like when I first started 12 steps in the beginning of my recovery, I was the most judgmental person in that room. I hated everybody. I thought they were like weird cat ladies. I just was like disgusted by them. You couldn't have seen if you could have read a transcript of my brain, it was like,
Yeah.
these people, and I used to like, because I was so out of my mind, I guess I used to just journal and take notes the whole time, and I would write and I would write and I'd write when I was in there. By the way, I was always like writing down the brilliant things that were coming out of that room.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden out of my pen comes, Molly, these people are you. And you just hate yourself. And like, I don't know, I'm a real believer in like, forgiving others lets us forgive ourselves, accepting others helps us to accept ourselves for, the whole thing. And like, I think there's a real piece about the mirrors that we provide to each other, that is really where the core spiritual work is done, and love and tolerance to all God's children. It's like, if anything's wrong right now in the world, here we are. And sort of
Mm-hmm.
that idea of like, when I'm in these, and I'm with you, like, I mean, I have to say, I'm in full flight sometimes in our food addiction community. And it's like, what is going on with me that is making me incapable of
Mm-hmm.
sitting and respecting someone else's struggle, of sitting and respecting someone else's. It is a problem within me.
Mm-hmm.
Because, and to me, like, the greatest growth in my whole life has happened when I'm willing to interact and learn to love these parts of me, these shadow parts of me
Mm-hmm.
that are like mimicking and transferring themselves, hating someone else. And it happens all the time. And then just one more thing, which is like what I'm noticing, some like in a relationship I'm in right now. It's like, well, if I'm annoyed by this thing a person's doing, it's like, am I doing it? Like, I'm annoyed they're overeating. Like, how's my food plan? Right? Like, is it squeaky clean? Like, probably not. Like, I'm annoyed they're doing this. It's like, well, am I do it? It's like, and so it's like, if I
Mm-hmm.
can just bring it back to like, if I can really radically accept that it's almost always if my life isn't being threatened, right? If I'm sitting there being abused in a group or something like that, we're not talking about that, listeners.
Right.
Get out, move. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about what you guys are talking about, sweet sobriety. Well, there's not enough recovery in here. It's like, how's my recovery looking? How can I contribute to this group?
Mm-hmm.
Right? How can I be a change? Right? Or this person's really has a different take on it. It's like, well, then what's going on with me that I'm so inflexible that I can't see? It's like, that's where I grow. I grow in relationships. I hate it. I go kicking and screaming, but I'm looking to evolve and ascend into the best version of myself. And unfortunately, it's always in community.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Make you throw up in your mouth a little
Make me
there, Mom?
throw up in my
Yeah.
mouth.
As you were sharing, Molly, it really made me think of this time. So I'm the oldest of four, and I essentially raised the three younger ones until I left, and then my sister like took over. So it's me, my sister who's 3 years younger, a brother who's 7 years younger, and a brother who's 10 years younger. Okay. And so I was like thrust into this role without like my consent, right? And so it was like this constant, I was the one who always had to figure it out. And if anything went bad or wrong, I was the one who was punished. And so because of that, like I had to, you right, like it was, I had then very little tolerance for those who came after me because I'm like, I have to figure it out. You need to figure it out too, because if you don't figure it out, it's back on me somehow. Like, right, like I took on, like you were saying, that responsibility for other people's feelings or whatever, because there was a very real consequence for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
can, and I remember somebody saying to me one day where, because I was just like, oh, like I can't figure out why my brother just can't. Ugh. And somebody was like, dude, like he's younger than you. He hasn't had the same experiences than you. Like, why don't you teach him? And and I was like, well, that's rude because nobody ever taught me. I had to figure, right? Like I went back to that. Nobody ever taught me. I had to figure it out for myself. I needed somebody else to tell me, like, why don't you teach him? I was like, oh. So now, of course, I've like have flipped, right? So now, don't get me wrong, my nervous system still does the whole like, can't you folks like figure this out? Like, I'm so confused as to like what is like the real hang up here. And and this is like in my day-to-day life where I'm just like, is it that difficult? And then I have to go back to like, maybe you need to teach them, Molly. Like maybe this is something that you could help somebody with. And so I think for me, when this kind of thing starts to happen in group, which it does, it ebbs and flows, right? And that's just kind of like the life
Mm-hmm.
cycle of a group,
Of all
or
relationships.
community. Yeah, exactly. Of all
Yeah.
relationship, whether it be like with my husband or my children or friends, colleagues, whomever it might be. It's like, oh, if there's this thing, like you were saying, like if there's this thing that's irritating my inner demon, you know, like maybe this is my opportunity to show up and say like, hey, could we try something different? Or like, here's how I do it. Or, hey, if how can I role model if I want to see more, like shifts in how we look at these things, if we want them to be more positive or if we want to stop some behavior, what if I showed up and role modeled that? And then that's it. Like that's all I can do. I can't force it. Like I tell people all the time, nobody's going to show up at your house and start slapping food out of your hands. Like like the same is true for any of this. Like I can't just show up at Clarissa's house and be like, oh, do this thing for me. All I can do is like ask and role model if it were something between us or whatever. I don't know. That was kind of my thought. Like when you were sharing was like, I just remember this like frustration that I had with my younger siblings. Like, why can't you figure it out?
No, and I think that for a lot of it, sometimes is even that envy or inadequacy shows up for us, and those are very uncomfortable feelings for us to be with. And, I might be envious that somebody has more time than me, or they're doing it different than me, or maybe they've released more weight than me. And I might also be envious that I'm working so hard and somebody is still in the food and getting to enjoy things that I used to enjoy, and I'm not able to do that anymore. And there's still that part of me that still wants to do it, and that's the activation. And so then I have to sit with these feelings and like, what do I do with those feelings after group's over? And so I'm noticing that I'm in group getting activated, and then maybe that's something that's triggering me. And so I guess in this situation, my role and responsibility is to say it out loud, to name it, what's happening for me. Because if I don't, I think I am putting myself at risk.
But I just wonder, like, I don't, like, I think there is this part of adulting and growing up and evolving where it's like, this feeling is, I don't know how to say it, but like, this feeling is my problem.
Mm-hmm.
This feeling of envy is my problem. And to say that I'm envious of your recovery, I don't know.
Or frustration. I mean, whatever the feeling is, it's
Right.
yours.
Yeah, I guess I just like, I don't know. I don't know why it's just rubbing up
I
against.
know you're
Yeah.
really resistant to it, and I'm
Well,
curious
'cause
about
it
it
feels
because
really victimy. It's like we need to learn how to have uncomfortable feelings and look at our part in it rather than make it into a larger problem. Like if you're
Right.
saying this is the
Mhm,
first step on a skill set of healing, great.
mhm.
But I literally think so much of the problems of the world is that we've created that when I'm uncomfortable, it's your problem to
Right.
solve.
Yes.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying the group needs to help me solve this envy or this inadequacy I'm feeling. I'm curious about what do I do with it? Because every time I go to group, I'm noticing it, and that is making me want to run. Is,
I think I just get mindful about like blame. Like I just think we like literally I think this is like half of culture, right?
right.
Where it's
Well,
like
and
you
it's
made me
way
uncomfortable. You
safer.
need to stop doing this. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I made you uncomfortable. You need to look at that so that
Right.
your tolerance for discomfort, and this is all of binging, right? This is all of eating disorders, so that you can expand your window of tolerance as to what's comfortable, and you can look at the root cause of why this is feeling this way to you. And also,
You
by
know,
the way, like I love envy. Envy means we want something. That's amazing.
Right.
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 It can give you direction. It makes me think of there's like this kind of pushback, right, going on where, women are starting to stand up and say, am I intimidating or are you intimidated? Right? So
Yeah.
pushing back on like, quit giving it to me. I'm
Mhm.
just doing me. I'm walking around the world in my space. So if I'm stuck in the food or if I'm returning to use or if I'm whatever it is and you're feeling frustrated and whatever it might be, am I actually doing that or are you feeling these things like you were saying, like taking ownership of our own internal processes? Like the
Mhm.
people out in the world have no idea that I'm feeling some kind of way because they cut me off in traffic or they're a slow walker. You know what I mean? Like I was telling a friend of mine, I'm like, I always think I'm a good person until you put me behind a slow talk or you put me with a slow talker, a slow walker, somebody in traffic, right? Like whatever it might be. And then it's like, like, and is it really them? That's where
Or
my
what?
blame
What
goes.
about?
It's
Yeah. What about
me.
Molly driving slow in Iceland? When it was time
Oh,
for me to
that
go
was,
to
yeah,
bed,
right.
like she saw it happening to me. I was like, "It is bedtime. What is happening right now? This is my best friend, and I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
be in this space
Yeah.
with her right
She
now."
wanted to,
Like.
But I just kept putting it back. I'm like, you can just relax. We'll get there. Right. So, like,
I
knowing when it's
survived.
yours and when it's not yours is
Right.
important.
And I also think it's okay to have all of these feelings. And if we are able to like name them and say, like, of course you're envious. Of course you're envious. They're still in the food. They're still in the alcohol, right? Like there was a time where that did bring you so much joy. And then that fierce compassion to be like, that's just not your truth anymore.
Or of
But
course
it
it's
makes
scary to
sense.
watch someone in active addiction, but again, that's a
Yeah.
me problem, right? I
Yeah.
don't mean a me problem. Like that's a me opportunity for healing. Like that's
Yes.
part of
Yes.
my shadow
Yes.
coming
The
up.
growth edge is
My
the,
shadow is
yeah.
coming up because it needs to be seen and it needs to be loved and it needs to be healed. And if I
Right.
make it about someone else needing to be different in order for me to be okay, I'm
Right.
perpetuating all of my victim
Well,
stuff.
and
Right.
exactly. You're giving away your power. And so now you've effectively given somebody else or some other situation or some program or whatever the ability to really mess with your recovery, your mental wellness, your
Mm.
relationships, whatever it might be, because you said, like, until you behave the way I want you to behave and I'm going to be the puppet master, I can't be okay. And
Yeah.
I just, is that true?
Hmm. Yeah, and even when it comes to like, people having more days than you, it's like, of course you want that. Of
Right.
course you want that. This is so hard. And you've been working so hard at this. And it is really awful when you feel like you're doing everything and you keep having reoccurrences and you're seeing other people who have figured it out. It's, of course, you feel this way. And just keep going and just keep doing, keep showing up, and keep going because this is actually a loving choice for you being surrounded by these people, even though it feels uncomfortable.
I think with the other piece, and then we need to go to takeaways, it's like I think we also forget about, and I do this maybe more than anyone. So spot it, you got it, as we say. But it's like I forget about my own value in this world when I'm with like if I'm in many communities and when everybody's just like spouting the problem and it's like I forget that my energy matters and I forget that like my positive contribution matters. It's not like I'm not getting anything from this meeting. It's like, well, what am I contributing to this meeting? That's,
Mm.
And
and
I,
that's a
yes, giving.
part of, right. That's a big part of healing. And that's a big part of like what we're missing. I'm talking like, this is the problem in our world. Is everybody's just like, well, it's not working for me. It's like,
Me,
what,
me,
like
me, 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 me.
me, me,
Mhm.
me, 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 me. All right. What are our takeaways?
No, that was literally my takeaway because what I found with the food addiction professional network is I wouldn't go to the meetings. You guys were going.
I
I
went, well,
wasn't.
not when you didn't go to the,
Like, no, because I was so activated. And I would message, if I did go to one, I'd message Molly after and be like, I'm walking and I can't even talk and I can't breathe. And
ah!
like, oh, so now what I've done is recently 2 sessions where I did education and I let people know also because I'm trying to like bring the food addiction field alongside the substance use disorder field. So all the things that were activating me might also be activating clients. And if anyone is interested, this is maybe some language we can use. And how would we feel about that? And if you feel like I might be shaming you around this, I used to use that language too and own it.
I
And
feel
so
like I
for
wasn't
me,
invited to that training, but like we can talk about that
yeah.
offline. I probably like just skipped over the email completely. I'm really working on this. I'm
It's
way in
all
the back.
good. It's all good.
MP, what
Yeah.
do you think?
I think my big takeaway is just that reminder of like, if something is irritating my inner demons, and that's how I frame it for me, is
Love it.
that right? Like that reminder of like, can I teach or show? What am I contributing positively? Like, instead of making it all about me, how can I like put out into the world? What is that, like Gandhi, I think, right? Like,
Yeah.
be the change you
Be
wish
the
to see
same.
in the world. Like,
Yeah.
how can I put that back out there? And to remember that, like, that's my growth opportunity. Like, oh, this is a note. So when you see Meg the next time, you need to talk about this. That's my
Mm.
therapist. You need to talk about this, that this is something, that maybe needs to be addressed. So, yeah. What about you, Mo?
I mean, I think I'm a real slow learner. And so I need a lot of repetition in order to integrate and change. And so all the lessons that I've been getting in the last 3 weeks are very simple, which is keep the focus on yourself. When you are look Molly C, when you are looking and you are getting annoyed that someone is not behaving in the way you think that they should, even when you're envious, like even if I'm envious that like someone has a better podcast, someone has more clients, whatever it is, right? Someone has a nicer house. It's like, okay, well, like, what are you doing? If that's what you want, what are you doing to contribute to that happening for you? My trauma just falls into victim space without my permission. And it falls into these real lies that people need to be different in order for me to be okay. Like, and I believe them really quickly because they're really embedded. And I
Mhm.
think the idea of keeping the focus on myself and checking to make sure my room's clean before I go clean anybody else's room is so hard to do,
Yes.
but very empowering when I remember to do it. And so such a great reminder. Like, thank you.
Mhm.
I love this topic. So whoever brought it, thank you so much. Wherever we got it from, thank you so much.
Hey, well, if you want to hear more about this specific topic or any other topic, if you have questions you want us to answer, concerns you want us to address, just give us an email at asktheshrinks@foodshrinks.com.
And if you enjoyed the show today and you like what we have to offer, then help us grow our show by leaving us a rating, putting a comment on one of the podcast apps. We love responding and sharing it with a friend and subscribing because we love a subscribe.
We love
So
it.
we
Subscribe.
will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Food Shrinks. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't a substitute for professional medical advice. Always consult your healthcare provider for guidance suited to your needs. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to help us reach others on the recovery journey. Take care and remember, freedom with food is possible. See you next time.